Hi everyone, this is Marianne from Revealing Light Tarot. How are we all today, wherever you are in the world when you're watching? A huge shout out to you. I'm interested in this subject as well because I'm a consumer and, we're battling high prices in Australia. I want to take a look at the economy and particularly in respect to inflationary pressures over the course of the year. In the US, they've been battling high inflation for quite some time now. It's been fairly acute in 2022. Over in the UK, of course, they've hit a record inflationary high. I don't think it's been at this level in the past 30 years. And in Australia, we're getting more and more wake-up calls around our inflationary pressures as well. People are noticing it now at the petrol pump and of course at the supermarket. I ran into a mother of 8 the other day at the supermarket, and she was bemoaning certain goods. She obviously shops fairly frugally, but she was bemoaning that she's just seen such a rapid jump in costs. And I'm noticing that as well. So I want to check in for you, me, and everyone else and have a look at what's going on there with inflation. Well, not so much what's going on. We already know that the pandemic and now, slowing economies, shutting economies down and then kick-starting them again, and the crisis in the supply chains, the Omicron taking so much on the back of what was already a difficult situation. Then we had to face a heightened difficult situation which affected workforces, workplaces, supply lines. What's going to happen in 2022 with that? Interest rates, certainly in Australia, are predicted to rise this year. And of course, people went on this massive buying. It was quite, I don't want to use the word surreal again because I used that the other day, but straight after Australia's lockdown, you had a lot of people in Sydney selling up and moving to the coastal areas or the inner regions, and of course or even not so inner regions, and that drove the cost of real estate up. And of course investors too went out on a limb and invested because the market was so buoyant. And if interest rates move, which they will to control inflation, then of course we're going to get a lot of people who are going to be over leveraged. In the medium or in the shorter term, what this has all done for people like you and me is put pressure on the economy, pressure on getting goods, pressure at the petrol pump, but for renters as well. It's difficult to find affordable rent, and for those young people that want to buy houses, it's just outside of their reach. So we're seeing a very, very overheated economy at the moment with these high inflationary pressures that you wonder, where is all this going to end? Well, hence my reading. Let's just pull, before we start, a couple of oracle cards from the Shaman's Dream Oracle. And let's see what the energies are for us. Not so much in the earthly realms, but what we need to know at the universal collective kind of level at the moment as to why we're experiencing this. Show me what we need to see, please, Spirit. Show me what we need to see, please, Spirit. You're getting, I'm just seeing microphones and announcements, and the instability is really getting to people, and they're retreating as a result. Eyes of the eagle rising above the fray. Yeah, I mean, people in a way in withdrawing, including withdrawing spending, consumer, as a consumer, tightening their belt it's like, okay, we just want to keep an eye on this. We don't really feel all that secure, and we don't really want to go out and have that big consumer party. And here is also a message for you to rise above the fray, rise above the worry. So we have number 1 and 8 adding up to 9. So 8, of course, is prosperity, entrepreneurship, and one is the individual, where everything starts. So where you might have seen some entrepreneurial activity, you're seeing less now because of the instability, the way that the world is at the moment, the way that our politics is not helping either. We've got some wake-up calls, is what I'm saying, and it is hitting us in the hip pocket. So we have stranger and curiosity. That's interesting. That's really, I don't know how to interpret that. That's change and spiritual solutions. Yes, I do know how to interpret that. Thank you, Spirit. Before we were quite, I guess, certain in the way things were going, our worlds were very much in the practical realms, but people are looking for more. And when we kick ourselves up to that higher, higher way of thinking, we do, it's not familiar to us. And so I just see people in getting over it, in getting... wanting something more. They become curious. They become searching. There's a lot of people searching. And, you're getting the great resignation. You're getting the great reset. You're getting, it's not business, literally business as usual. Repairing the veil and forgiveness. Yeah. Okay. So we've kind of caused this in a way. Everything is politicized. In Australia, our government, which is, nosediving in the polls, well, it's on the nose, meaning it's difficult for its brand to come up in time for the election. They're politicizing national security now. We're seeing things, breaking of norms that we haven't seen before, and it's almost as if we've gone too far, and there needs to be some sort of repair here. I know I'm talking about the economy, but it's kind of all interlinked. Feast of the plenty, choices and their consequences. I think this is what we're learning. I think this is what we're waking up to, and people are drawing back. Stars in the sky and limitless possibilities. It's interesting that in every situation there is a silver lining. And so this may force certain innovations. One thing that I saw with the empty supermarket shelves was a lot of social media on return to your farmers markets. Don't worry about the supermarkets. Go and get your fresh produce from these markets, from direct to the grower. And we've got lost compass, getting back to integrity. Everything is connected here, including the politics and the unstable nature of politics at the moment. We only had to look at the Canadian convoy to understand how that damaged trade routes, trade supplies, the movement of trade between Canada and the US. So, when I read your comments and, I pick up the vibe from the channel or the social media that I may be on with my viewers or my followers, and I do get this pulling back from, it's almost like a protective pulling back from whether it's social media or even politics. There's like a watchfulness that is going on at the moment. So let's get down to the tarot. That was quite a deep kind of esoteric dive into some of the energies that are impacting on the question. And the question is, of course, what will inflation do in 2022? What can we expect? Oh gosh. So there's a graph that I'm seeing with it's going way up. It'll be interesting to see what the graph is going to do. And of course, the best thing we can do is tighten our belt now and get in front of this thing. Politicians will say spend, spend, spend. Corporations, businesses will say spend, spend, spend. But we're watching. We're watchful. All right, what is inflationary pressures? It's like it's all part of this completion cycle that we're in, where something new emerges. Sometimes people don't understand or take any notice until it hits them in the hip pocket, and governments become more accountable when that happens as well. It's like we had too much, and we weren't careful enough in some way with our capitalist type of systems. The guardrails weren't really there. Anyway. Okay. And that goes to loans and debts and banks and regulations and financial protections. All right. The energy's pretty heavy here. And I see a shattering of the window as well. So, we will see inflationary pressures that are record setting. Okay. Yeah. Okay. It's growing beyond that glass ceiling is what I'm seeing. Inflationary pressures in 2022. What is likely to occur? Okay, so we've got the Five of Swords, which is what I was really saying around abuse in some way. You don't have to look too far to see that in one way or another, whether it's here in Australia, no federal political corruption agency that was promised that there's a need for. You're seeing massive wastes of taxpayers' money in what we call pork barreling, trying to buy elections. In the US, you see this terrible situation they have with their opposition party and, being the party of insurrection. In the UK, we have post-Brexit and the politicking, and of course a leader who was very much a part of that, showing, I guess some would say, his true colours, but there's also withholding of accountability and transparency. Abuse. We've got abuse. And, we have to take some responsibility ourselves for that. We came out of lockdown here in Australia and, everybody charged off to Boxing Day sales, where you get that footage of people running over other people to get into their department stores. And, of course, that just shot Omicron up and we had a shadow lockdown and a lot of businesses went broke. That's the kind of energy that's in this card. We all have a responsibility. Now, it's crossed by the Nine of Cups, miracles, wish fulfillment. So, you could see breakthroughs here, despite, all the doom and gloom. But this is a crossing card. So I think in the past we have seen some of those breakthroughs. I think in the future we'll see some of those breakthroughs, perhaps moving toward more stability, less abuse, more stability. Enough of us are watching. Okay. Now, the Nine of Swords, there's a lot of anxiety, and I don't want to tap into those that are living homeless, but there are people on the edge financially that are really, really anxious at this time. and we've got, this kind of presence looking in the window. It's this kind of instability that we're all feeling. You could speak to an economist and they would say, oh, consumer spending habits have, people are a bit worried about, what's going on with the pandemic. But it goes a lot more deeply than that. A lot more deeply than that. There is a undercurrent here of people are perhaps worried about the state of the world, perhaps for the first time in their lives. Young people are particularly anxious as well. You think about what they've seen in the last 2 or 3 years that they never had in their lifetime without the experience of wisdom on their shoulders. So in the past we have the wheel of fortune. I'm using the what is this deck? The Tarot Grand Lux by Cairo Marchetti. But that's in the past. So the wheel can also mean change. It can be change for the better and change for the worst. You work out what that might be in the past. In some ways we had a tremendous advantage economically. In some ways, it didn't work for everybody. Obviously didn't work for everybody. So there's a change here with this Wheel of Fortune. All things pass, of course, and we might see that we emerge stronger as a result of this. The Three of Swords is in the sky, and unfortunately with the graph that I saw, the potential is there's going to be quite a lot of loss, or not a lot, I don't want to generalise. There's going to be, for some people who are in debt or over-leveraged, or there's just going to be a feeling like they've been betrayed. And how that translates politically, I don't know. Wise governments will start looking at those, get in front of this, or should have got in front of this. There's a lot going on. Sorry about that, Mike. Now we have the Queen of Swords, and I think, in the immediate future. So there's going to be a need for some sort of regulation, could even be strengthening financial regulations in the immediate future, or somebody is making a move toward that. But this is at a more, individual level. It's about people really putting their thinking hat on and really mentally thinking about, given we've got this Nine of Swords, this anxiety, which is at the foundation of this reading, thinking very carefully about how they spend their money. So I think, I can say in 2022, given that's the overarching question here, that, in the first part of 2022, just from the cards that I'm seeing, we will see a contraction of the economy, certainly obviously a contraction of consumer spendings, despite governments saying, get out there and spend, we're over the pandemic. No, we're watchful. We've been burnt and we're watchful. Okay, right now we've got the Seven of Swords. So many people feel extremely disenchanted. And as I said, if I did a reading for The Economist and said, people feel like they've been swindled. People feel like they've been lied to. People are highly anxious. They're not going to go out and keep the economy ticking over for you. Our job vacancies are very, very high at the moment because people got put off either in the lockdowns or the shadow lockdowns. When I say shadow lockdowns, there was no government regulation shutting the economy down. It shut itself down. And they were put off, and they've got the memory of that. Why when I was disposable? Why would I go back to that? Our nurses and doctors are striking. Our nurses and doctors, if I could swear, are really at the end of their tether. I won't swear, but you know what I mean. They're really peeved off. They feel like they've been used and abused. So many sections of the economy are feeling angry. Okay, now, 9 of Wands is the environment. People are putting boundaries up. They are over it. They want to sit for a while. And, you know, you will have seen holidays cancelled. You will, you know, the collective mood is one of... It's why it's really important to tune out for a while, because you can't live in that negativity. You need to move up to that higher. Feed your soul, not with puff cakes and you know, new clothes or whatever, a new wheels for your car, whatever it happens to be. Feed your soul with something different. And that is a movement that we will see, we are seeing, and we'll see more of in 2022. Now, we've got this in the hopes and fears, the 6 of Cups. I knew I would see that. We want more simplicity. We want stability. We want simplicity. And we want that feeling that all is going to be okay. Maybe that we had when we were children. You know, there's also this nostalgia as well coming in here, or a fear that the past is not, we're not going to get back to what we had in the past. But the other aspect of the 6 of Cups is innocence and our higher self. So people, when they're feeling in the 9 of Swords mood, will go back to the strength of their higher selves. They've got nowhere else to go but there, because that's the thing that makes so much sense. The outcome is the Hierophant. Thank you, Spirit. So we've got government. I'm just seeing Spirit around me. We've got, this is Spirit. It's our higher selves. There's a movement toward a higher version of ourselves that politicians don't necessarily understand yet. They're not hooked into these levels of thinking. We've got the Devil here. I'm not surprised that turned up in this reading. It is the toxicity, it is greed, it can be addictions, it's whatever we need to unchain or transform. It's that Capricornian energy. So people are asking, how did we get here? How did this happen? And of course, we're in the cycle of a lot of truth coming to pass, a lot of truth that we're being able to see, and it doesn't matter. There's no more hoodwinking. There's no more hoodwinking. People are seeing the truth. Whatever their version of the truth is, they're seeing it. And for those that are labouring under disillusion, you know, we've got things possibly, I won't say getting worse in 2022, but there's a way to go yet before the economy stabilises. Now, we've got the ending of cycles. When you get these kind of pressures, as, you know, if you spoke to an economist, they would say we're in this cycle post-pandemic. And the cycle will need to work its way through, and then we get this new beginning. We've got the 9 of Coins and the Ace of Wands. Also patience. So I do feel ultimately things will be brought under control. We do have choices to make, decisions to make. Inflationary pressures will come under control because they have to be brought under control. And the politicians know that. But there's something that they can't do much about, and that's our withdrawal, that's our watchfulness, that's our curiosity here to move beyond what we had experienced, which came crashing down through the pandemic years, to move to something new. And hence we have the Ace of Cups and the Hanged Man. We are looking at things differently. How? Emotionally. We're looking at things through the prism of our emotions. Okay, as well. As well. Okay, and emotions, when they're combined with the mental, the air energy, you get really decisive action. Okay, so let's see when things will ease a little bit. Let's see if I can get this clairvoyantly as well. When will things ease a little bit? So I'm seeing someone carrying swords and giving something back. Maybe it's the swords that were taken, which left things unguarded. I do feel people are also squirreling things away. So, you know, if they don't go rampant with their consumerism, they're saving as well. They're saving money, and that's a good thing. So we've got the 7 of Pentacles coming out. So this is review. Everything's up for review. People are making new decisions. You know, the number 7 could be 7 months. It's tough for the first part of the year, but then we move to a little bit more stability. The base of the pack is this devil energy. What else is there? Okay, the 5 of coins. Yeah. There needs to be policies to tackle the inflationary pressures. There's a lot of work to be done. And I do feel that governments, new and old, understand this. Okay, when is okay. I keep getting the sword energy. There's the energies of the swords. So it's mental. There's a lot of mental energy here that's impacting on this question. I keep getting somebody giving swords back. When will the inflationary pressures start to ease? The latter part of the year, I think, the 7 to 8 months. So this is, you know, things coming at us very, very rapidly in the first half of the year. But we've got our 9 of Cups coming up again. So there could be rapid policies, changes, things occurring. When things start, I mean, it feels like we're in a fast motion movie at the moment. 3 of Cups celebration. So there's definitely these are good cards. There's definitely going to be an easing up, I think, in the second part of the year. People need to process what they've been through, and they'll do that. We have the King of Coins here crowning this reading. The immediate future, wow. The immediate future is the lovers coming back together. So the downturn economically could actually bring people back together. I mean, we see a lot of the polarization because that's a lot of what the media will show us. But, you know, I see here Republican, in America anyway, Republican governors working with Democrats here to kind of stimulate the economy, helping businesses. In Australia, we have an election coming up in May. I do feel that they would have had that in March, except for Omicron breaking out in Australia, but a May election. You already are seeing some in the Conservative parties crossing the floor on, you know, those really right-winged policy positions of the Conservative government. You've got your moderate Conservatives crossing the floor to vote with the other parties and the crossbench. So we are seeing movement, and of course in the UK. So we saw some Tory members move over to, I think one even defected to Labour. So this is really sorting things out politically. I do feel that people will come back together. We've got the Sun card here, and the Magician. So you know what? When you're in that 9 of Swords, what do you want to manifest? You want to manifest happiness again. You want to manifest joy. You want to manifest sunny days. This is also can point to summer, spring and summer, more so summer in the US. And the Magician card, manifestation. We have the Six of Wands. So, I'm feeling, but that by the second half of the year, things are starting to improve. But there's a cautionary tale here. I do see, I am also, I hate to say it, given I spent 4 years, not every reading, but 4 years looking at the ex-president, I do feel that, once his political influence is in the trash can, you can bin it. We know that's happening. The Mazars, his accounting firm, saying his financial statements couldn't be relied on, will lead to a wealth of trouble for him. But we've got the Devil card here, and this is a cautionary tale that we need to move through and reform what is toxic, what is holding us back, the rank system that doesn't work for the majority, only works for a few. If we don't learn those lessons, we'll be back where we started. And of course, you can really even go back to the origins of the pandemic, originating in a country that was highly geared up for manufacturing, population density, and of course then made its way all over the world through the mass movement of people. Maybe that, while there's going to be loss, maybe when we emerge from this, maybe it's to something a little bit more wise, a wiser system here, or a wiser way of doing things. There's something big ending at the moment with this Judgment card. This is a karmic cycle. I hate to say it, but we were all born in this era and time for a reason to experience this. This is a huge reset, but I do see things with this Queen of Coins stabilizing, and you'll see also the Divine Feminine coming to the fore. We're seeing that already. It's like, in order to get that stability, we need to have a more balanced system. So I see this reading as a big balance sheet where the ledger was not balancing, and as a result, a lot of things had to change. It's brought with it worry, economic worry. It's brought with it the Tower, but it's also bringing with it a lot of cleansing, and it is happening very, very, very quickly. So I'll leave that there. That's what I see. Tarot's really difficult for timelines, but I think 2022, we might see a correction later on in the year in the US. Other countries may follow, but I think there's just going to be that need for those policies to manage what's going on. And so I think it's probably a fair bet to say that a lot of governments will be trying to balance things out and manage overheated economies, certainly in this first part of the year. What can we do? Tighten our belt, get ahead of it. Look at what that Seven of Pentacles budget. What do I really need? What do I really need to spend? So I'll leave it there. Thanks for tuning in on my esoteric version of what's going on with the economy. I'll be back again with another reading soon. Bye for now.